Good morning. My name is Julia Kelly. I am a fabric collage artist, a art educator, and a new cross-stitch designer. Today is Friday, November 3rd, and I am back in beautiful, still gloriously golden fall Southwest Colorado. I have done a very long circuitous trip down to Salita, Mexico, which is near Puerto Vallarta, to celebrate my niece's wedding with family. And my kiddos were able to come in for that, and it was a whirlwind trip that I will tell you about later. But yeah, it's the east side of the Rockies in Colorado, the east slope. Did get some bad weather and some snow, but here it's a little cooler. Like we're using the wood stove more, but it's still beautiful and golden. Not that winter's beautiful too, but we haven't gotten the really bad cold or snow yet. I really am behind on where I wanted to be. I was not able to do a lot of hands-on work. I did schleff my laptop all the way down to what is Puerto Vallarta, like middle of Mexico and back. I got some stuff done, but I didn't get enough done. I just wonder if I should have even tried. But family comes first, and when you get a chance to spend time with your kids, that comes first. So wherever I am now, that's okay because I got to see my girls, so I'm happy about that. And new son-in-law. I have to always remember him. He was fun to see too. So lots to tell. So today, in that, I have finished my turkey pattern, which I did not grab. So let me pause one moment. So this is the last of what I would call my fall releases, which I did kind of want to do a virtual happy dance when I realized that I could go on to Christmas and even past Christmas. Again, all this should have been up and done a month ago. But so this is my fall turkey that again is a primitive turkey. So it's sized to fit in a cookie cutter. And then this is it as a pillow. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I was talking about my Instagram stories that I would have been done with this sooner if I did not decide it needed gourds. And I am so thrilled with these gourds. These totally wonky gourds. And I did the lace 3/4 stitch border on it. And then here is it as the cookie cutter. The cookie cutter is sized on 18 count Aida. And it is weeks only. I thought I could pull off a video before I left, and so I taped a video, and I talked about how I realized that my difference in coverage between 16 and 18 count with 2 strands over 2 is that I like to only use weeks on 18 count 2 strands because I think it covers less. It's less fuzzy. It's thinner. And I honestly can't remember if I went on about that, the video I didn't put up, or the video before that. And I'm not going to go back and look. So I'm not going to go on and on about it. I will later once I verify that. But this is stitched with, like this is Roxy Flossco butter chicken. This is marmalade. Is that Classic Color Works? The 2 grays, the gray and the dark black, are Roxy Flossco charcoal, blackboard maybe, and onyx. This is Ruby Slippers here. that blue is actually a DMC because I did not have a blue I liked. And I am so isolated. It would have been a couple days for me to get overdyed blue. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with DMC blues. This is parchment. This is up on my website. So you can go look. And the back that has all the colors listed, you can look at before you purchase. And my website, moonflowerstudio.biz, B-I-Z. These are listed. I did get these up when I was in Mexico with my laptop. That's the main reason for having my laptop. Will take you to a link to my Etsy store. My Etsy store is MF Studio Stitch. And again, you can see all the things I used. But this is 16 count. It's weird. It's like, I swear it's the same dye lot. There's hardly any, there's like maybe a slight shading difference between this and the background of this. One is called Oatmeal and one is called Dune. But to me, it looks like it's just that one was the first dip and one was a couple later dips. And so it's slightly lighter. But this is Mossy, I remember. I want to say this is Roxy Flosco Colonel Mustard, possibly. But yeah, so got those done. 18 count Aida, 16 count Aida. So there's your size comparison. Not huge. But the other thing I noticed, and I think this was not in the last, is that the applique turkey I made, I tried to balance here. And I realized that the balancing point is here. And this has, even though, I mean, I did pretty good on the balancing point, that I tape coins inside if I'm not quite good on the balancing point. And that's the trick that the clock caretakers for Big Ben use in England, is they stack coins, pennies, to balance the finite last detail balancing of the pendulum. So there you go. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how the cookie cutter turned out. I will have a finishing video. If you're like, I have no earthly idea how to finish this, I will have a finishing video, and it's Velcroed. For my Christmas ornaments. I already did a finishing video with one of my Christmas ornaments, and I'm just not going to do multiple right at this point. I'll do another one at some point, but right now, so if you like the idea of doing it in the cookie cutter, soon, within weeks, there will be, as soon as I get my Christmas ornaments up, there will be a finishing video, even to the point about how to balance. I have quite a technique how to do this. You don't have to figure it out yourself. I will give you a very detailed video on how I do it. And then you can improve upon it, because I bet you there's easier ways to do this than I'm doing it. So I'm looking forward to other people trying it. And then maybe I will adapt my technique. So that is the turkey, the last of my fall. And I took some photos of all my fall releases in a dough bowl that I will put up here for you to look at while I keep talking. So yeah, so the fall stuff is done. Yay, finally. If this is your first video and you're wondering why, it's because I jumped in the stream to be a designer, and I'm sure there was a better way to do it. I didn't know what that way was, so I just jumped in, was ready to do my spring, and then my entire laptop blew up to the point I had to replace my motherboard, which put me back a couple weeks. And then I jumped in again. I probably should have jumped in with designs for Christmas, but I couldn't. So I'm catching up with myself. And I'm almost caught up with myself, I have to say. This is my last of my fall. My Christmas things were almost done, because those were pretty much done. I need to finish a few things and figure out how I'm going to do a border on my bigger piece, which I kind of know now, so I need to jump on that this weekend. But yeah, and then I was in Mexico again. I kind of quickly tossed in some materials to work on when I was down there by the pool, because my one writing focus after not craziness, just a large volume of work, stitching. So it's kind of like that joke of, oh, please, please, please throw me in my room and leave me alone with a book. Oh, what punishment. So it's not punishment by any means. I would and could do it 24/7, so doing it 24/7 has not been a torture. It's just been 24/7 for months. So my one leading hope was, when we got down to Mexico to Salida, was to sit in a pool chair and have someone come over and say, Mrs. Kelly, can I get you something? And be sitting there and stitching, which I almost achieved. It turned into me sitting there on my laptop to get the design out of this, so I didn't quite make my goal of this being done. The pattern was done. Obviously, this was done before I left. This was done the day before I left for Mexico. I was able to photograph things, get that into my laptop, get it photographed, and then the actual making of the pattern pieces was put together in Mexico at the side of the pool. Salita is, like I said, near Puerto Vallarta. It's like Jurassic Park jungle. Like, it is the hills and the mountains just kind of step down directly into the ocean. I've been to Mexico before a couple times, multiple times, but I've only really been where it's more desert, a little flatter, a little, the kind of flat goes more inland, but here it was like that. So there were very small, 3 or 4 crescent-shaped beaches, where the main town was, and then a couple other ones. It was like days before the Day of the Dead celebrations. In fact, one of my kiddos is still down there. Her and her new husband decided to kind of use it as a extended honeymoon. They got married a year ago, now, but they knew that their cousin was getting married this time, and so then they just decided right before they got married to use this trip as kind of an extended honeymoon. So she's always wanted to be in Mexico for the Day of the Dead celebrations. And if you have ever seen is it Chaco? The Disney movie. Am I saying that right? The little boy who goes into the Day of the that movie. Coco. Oh my gosh. Coco. It literally looks like that. It is. I wouldn't be surprised if they use that as the inspiration for that movie. There's one beach that's called Playa de Morta. I think I'm probably totally butchering it. Beach of the Dead. And you walk up this little hill, there's these crescent beaches. You have to kind of go up and over to get to the next one of these little hills. And you walk up a dirt road and you walk down, and you are in the middle of a Mexican cemetery with the cement, multicolored crypts with the cast iron gates on them, and the marigolds are everywhere, fresh marigolds, candles. And you walk down, and then you're on this public beach where locals and tourists are hanging out, but you're right beside a cemetery. And then the locals who have their their food tents are next to crypts, literally Day of the Dead beach, or dead beach, or however you want to translate it. So but then everything is on a hill. And I'm doing pretty good with my foot. I literally am going on 1 year after my surgery. Will be in a couple weeks when I had my surgery, to put a big gigantic steel rod in my foot. So I was doing pretty good with my foot, but the airplane, being stuck in an airplane, just the weird car driving. I had to pace myself a little bit with my foot, and they're just more adventurous than I am. So I was glad I sent them off a couple chunks of time and just sat by the pool and worked on finishing this to get it all up on my website and get it fini, as in French, because I don't know Spanish, but I know a little French. Was wonderful. And they did. They came over and they were like, can I get you anything else? And I'm not a big drinker, but to have a fresh Coca-Cola, they made this wonderful guacamole that was like diced red onion, cherry tomatoes, avocado, huge. Like it had to be 3 avocados, and then chips that were probably fried like, that morning. And I would kind of start them, and then at some point my kids would come along and kind of steal the plate away from me. But that was wonderful to just sit and watch, kind of pause, and then finish getting that pattern up. So I've sent my family off. I'm in my hotel room. I want to go down to the pool and just work and have someone bring me guacamole and chips. I have the time. I have the laptop. I know what I want to do, but what I don't know is the exact dimension of this finished, this finished thing that will go in a cookie cutter. So it has to be exact for that 18 count. Literally the same. Like when I do this, I measure the longest distance here and here, and then I make a square with that, or a shape, or rectangle, or whatever. And then that's my beginning of my chart, for my software. And so far, so good. I mean, it's worked so far, with a couple glitches. So I'm like, how do I figure this out? Because, I have all my softwares on my laptop. I have Adobe, I have, Photoshop, and they have rulers, but that inch ruler on the screen is not an inch. It changes by the resolution, how many dots you've chosen in your resolution, on your screen. And I'm thinking, how can I measure? Because if I could get that ruler on my screen to be right, to be an inch, then I can just use the screen of my ruler to measure this applique ornament, and then I'm good to go. So then I'm like, okay, because I've done this before. So usually I get an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, because it's 8.5 by 11. And then if you fold it certain ways, then I know I have like a 5.5 inch measurement, or, you can just divide. So the only thing I could find in my possession that I had, there was no 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in the hotel room. I looked around because I thought maybe like a receipt or something. Nope, there was nothing that I knew for sure the measurements were exact. So then I found my handy wipe, my little handy wipe bag. I looked on the back, and it literally said 7.5 inches by 5.25 inches or something. 5.5, whatever it was. So I was like, great. I now know what 5 inches should be. So I just started, like I opened up a new thing on Photoshop where it had the ruler. But again, the ruler the size changes on what your resolution is. And kept changing the resolution and laying this rectangle handy wipe on my screen. Like it's like this. So I'd lay it on my screen until this width, the long side, which should be 7.5, was exactly the same on my screen. And then I had a ruler. So then I took my ornament, and then I measured on the screen. I figured out, I had a ruler, so I was able to measure my ornament. And I thought, this is either genius or utterly stupid. It's going to be one or the other. So, all the way, and I'll get into why I really was, the reason I really, 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 really wanted something to stitch before we started traveling back home was because we were traveling, and I'd have hours at the airport, and not hours. It's a very short flight because we fly in and out of Phoenix, but it's Phoenix. So I knew that I told my husband, I said, take work with you, because he has work too. He has to get back to his work. And I said, take work with you. I will drive, but we're not leaving the Phoenix area until the attic is open and I get to go to the attic, because I'm not leaving Phoenix without going to the attic. So I thought, but I don't have anything to stitch. So I had to solve that problem. Thus the motivation to figure out. So the standard handy wipe, if you're wondering, is either 7.5 by 5.25 or it's 5.5 by 7.25, one of the two. Because I measured it to use it as a way to distinguish a right size ruler on my laptop screen, because that's the depth that I went to. So I got my pattern uploaded on my laptop sitting by the pool. I figured out the size I needed to then go into WinStitch and start designing my after Christmas winter patterns. Very excited about that. And then we traveled. So again, like I said, that this is a mountainous, tight, closed in rainforesty kind of tiny little beach town. But now it's like a surf town. So you take a shuttle from there on a tiny little narrow road back and forth to Puerto Vallarta, where a very nice airport is. I got back into Phoenix very late. It was probably about a half an hour drive to the attic from there. The attic, if you don't know, is a very well-known, very well-established cross-stitch store in Phoenix, Arizona, with ladies who I would call like the grand dames, like they should have like a medal. Like if we were in England, they'd be a lady. Just there's a few of them in this industry that just seem like they need an extra reverence, because their knowledge and how long they've been doing this and their connections, and they're just a wealth of knowledge. But the attic is up there, equivalent to my brain just totally flew out the door of the other ones around the world. Keepsakes in in, is it Ohio? Or Shepherd's Bush in Utah, or just the ones where it's like you just go if you can go. But their hours are I think later in the week, like I don't know, like Thursday through Saturday or something. But they have on their website, you can call and ask for an appointment. They usually are in there working. So when we flew in, still at the airport, like we were sitting at the airport and my husband was kind of trying to navigate where we were and what we needed to do, and we were kind of zooming in on a hotel, I emailed and just said, we just flew in and we're leaving it tomorrow. Is it possible to get in and get into the attic tomorrow morning? Like, totally understand if it's not, but this is when I'm here. And they're not open on Mondays. We flew in on a Monday. But first thing Tuesday morning, I got an email from, her name was Mary. So thank you, Mary. Very nice lady and very gracious. And she was like, yes, well, we're here. Just, come knock on the door when you get here. No problem. So I had previously looked my husband in the eye, which, I love him, but he's kind of on task. And at the end of a vacation, he's kind of like a horse wanting to get back to the horse trailer. So I had said, I'm going to we are staying to go to the attic. So you need, if you verified with me, you don't have appointments, you don't have what you need to do for work, you can do anywhere. So therefore, because that is true, you're going to be in Phoenix and you're not coming in with me, because I've tried that before where we'll just go and no, you don't get to come in, because then I just feel like him over here just looking at me like, are you about done? And so I was like, entertain yourself however you want to. And he did. He needed a little coaching. He needed a little reminder about this is what was agreed upon. But if you can just kind of if you can get him to understand, like for it to register, he's okay. but there's a little effort in getting him to register what you're saying. So I was able to do that. And he went and got gas in the car, and then he's good. He could work he works in the car all the time. So he had his laptop out and he was working, and and I didn't feel that pressure like, oh, I have to hurry through, which really sucks. Like if you're like really wanting to go somewhere and you have someone who's like, looking at their watch. I hate that. I'm like, you're going to just be mellow and laid back so I can enjoy this effort. So we went and had a really good breakfast. And then Halloween, this was on Halloween because I guess Halloween was Monday. And then went to the attic, knocked on the door, and Mary let me in, and they were so cute. There was probably 5 or 6 ladies. They were prepping and getting ready for a conference that I want to say was like less than like a week away, maybe a week and a half away. It was happening quite soon. And so they were like, we're here. If you need anything, just let us know. We'll point you to where you want, but just, we can't give you the level of service we would. And then they were so helpful the whole time. So I was kind of like, if this is the level of service you usually give, wow. If you're not preoccupied, one person was sorting floss to put into, to spread out, and they were bantering back and forth about how they wanted to organize things and stuff. So, but the main, I kind of was trying to determine like, okay, can I just meander around, or do you need me to like come get what I want to get and get out of your hair? So I kind of asked that question, and they were like, no, my gosh, wander, look. And I believed them. I didn't think they were just being nice. So I did wander around a bit. And so it, I had come for a pretty specific thing in these winter designs I'm doing. Up until now, I've only done animals, but these winter designs are people. And the one thing I realized I didn't have was skin tones, because I've been focused on animal fur, because what have I done? Turkeys, horses, cats, and pumpkins so far. So I did get some skin tones. I did learn some things that's interesting that I'll share with you. But one thing that I realized is, and I had the same issue with quilt shops in my applique. Molted fabric, variegated fabric, batik fabric, or overdyed thread is all beautiful and wonderful, but you're going to have some kind of variation in that thread, either slight or more drastic. Skin tone, the whole variety of skin tones that that I want to achieve, the European, Native American, African, Hispanic, Oriental are consistent colors. You don't have this, you don't have like a molted, well, you could, but generally you don't. And so I'm just wondering in exploring, being there, because I was like looking at the whole, the whole thing of Weeks, the whole thing of Classic Colorworks, the whole thing of Gentle Art. And it was pretty consistent in that none of them had real consistent skin tones, the whole spectrum. I picked what I could pick. And again, the next time I go, the dye lots might be different, and and it might be a whole different story. So that's fine if I'm doing 16 count with Classic Colorworks, Gentle Arts, or Roxy Floss Co. I can throw in DMC because those are all consistent, about the same. But in this big spiel I've had about Weeks is that I've determined is that I don't like mixing Weeks with the other colors, because I've determined that I think Weeks is thinner, less fuzzier. So if you look at these two, this is Classic Colorworks Almost Autumn and Toasted Marshmallow. This is Weeks Dye Works Mascara, Tatanka. I can't remember what that gray is. Onyx maybe. But do you see how even at this, how you have more of these pinholes, I call them, tiny little areas where it's not filled in, where here it's packed in. So for me, this is not bad. Like, I'm not going to redo it, but I like this better. So saying that, in this long video I did that I didn't finish and I just am kind of redoing, my conclusion is that 18 count, I'm only using weeks. Now, I did, when I was at the attic, I did buy, I bought 20. I did have a little bit of 20. Man, do the color choices drop down on 20 count Ada. And then I also bought 25 count Laguna. This is interesting. This transition to these two sizes is interesting. It will not be this video, but will be another video at some point. I think, now this is theory because I haven't done it yet, where, like I said, 18 count for me, and everybody's going to have their own preference. 18 count for me, 2 strands of anything like DMC, Classic Colorworks, or Gentle Art, Roxy Floss Co. is 2 packed in. But 1 strand is too holy. And I've tried 1 strand and I do not like it. 18 count Ada, which would be 36 count linen. 36 count linen is perfect amount of kind of light, you know, like seeing the pin pricks, the pinholes, whatever you want to call them, for me. But I do have a few ornaments that I won't be doing until 2024 that I know, designing them, that 18 count is not detail. It's not small enough to get the detail I want to get on the ornament. So to fit into the cookie cutter. Obviously, if you're just doing them to do them, it doesn't matter what size you do them. But to successfully fit into the cookie cutter, I won't be able to do the design elements I want on 18 count. So that's why I got 20 count, because I'm thinking I need to go to 20 count to do those. But, and we'll see what I do. My thought is that 20 count is going to be my point where I, for my own preference, change from 2 strands to 1 strand. So it doesn't look packed in. What I don't know is if it'll be 1 strand of the slightly thicker thread like DMC, Classic Colorworks, Roxy Floss Co., Gentle Arts, or will it need to be 1 strand of Weeks Dye Works. I just got this because I'm curious. But this is not Ada. It doesn't have the 4 threads each direction. So basically it's like, what is it like? If you do 2 strands, it would 25.5. It'd be more like a 4. It would be even bigger than a 14 count. It'd be like a 12 count, 13, 12.5 count. So I don't know. I kind of just got this to experiment with. So I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. Then, I did get 2. So I was able to get Ivory Ada and then 20 cut linen. I think this is Ada. This is Ada, but it's just called linen. But it's that 4 thread each direction. So I have these 2 to do more detailed 20 count to play around with to see. But again, none of these things that I'm talking about right now would be a design until after summer 2024. Yeah. So this would be fall or Christmas 2024. If at this point. Like, I just like having options. So I got those at the attic. And then I got some, I told her in the email I needed thread, and then when I went up there to pay, she was like, "Oh yeah, you really did need thread." So I got, and this is the way I do it. And this is the way I did it. I do it when I need fabric for an applique, a collage project. I usually have one or two very specific things. Like I need to go see if I can find, whatever it is. Usually it's something like different shades of gray, or different skin. Like today, this time it was skin tones. I need skin tones. So I do that. I try and do that first. Like I just go in and I'm like, I am looking for skin tones. Successful or not, I establish that. And then I'm there. So then I just pick up things I love. That I'm drawn to. So the pile I have here, which is basically the skin tones, what I was able to do for skin tone, which I mean wasn't great. And I'm not quite sure. I mean, this is pretty good. I mean, that was pretty good. I was able to find this. So these are weeks, I guess. So, there's two variations of skin tone. It's exactly the same variation. So, I have that. I always get two. Because, it's just, I'm going to run out. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. For skin, because this isn't weeks. So I got that done, and then I just picked gorgeous colors that I don't know if I have or not, here in the studio. I just know they're beautiful, and I thought they inspired me in the moment. So yeah, so I got, I got several of those at the Attic. But mainly I just want to go back again, not under those conditions and really enjoy myself. Well, that's a pretty good skin tone. So, so I got that accomplished, got home, first day, zoned it on, actually, so then driving home, I had pulled the fabric I wanted to use for these after Christmas designs, these winter designs. I had little travel bags kind of somewhat ready, and I had the colors I were wanting to use other than the skin tone. So driving back through the reservation, it's about a 6-hour drive. I didn't have a printed off pattern. I had to get my pattern from WinStitch. I had to have internet service because I had to get my pattern from WinStitch into Google Docs on my laptop, and then I was able to access the pattern on my phone. And honestly, Google Docs using the pattern on your phone really works pretty well. I know it's not, it's not Pattern Keeper or anything, but you can highlight, you can X things out, you can, I've used my pen. I have a stylus on my phone, and you can block off, for traveling, and sometimes here if I'm, there's something wrong with the printer or I'm too lazy to go upstairs, it's actually not a bad way to what am I trying to say? To read your pattern is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, so that's the stitching. Thrilled that my fall patterns are done. Thrilled that I mentally in my head, so after all that effort, all I want to do is sit down on the couch and stitch my after winter stitching, which isn't, the deadline for that isn't until the day after Thanksgiving. The deadline for my Christmas ornaments is next Friday. And I have nothing in my creative brain to do that, because like I said, all of those things, there will be 2 ornaments, a variation in 2 different ornaments, and then a variation of 2 pillows. So there's 4 designs for my Christmas release. one theme, 4 designs, however you want to say it. And then I am going to release a new Fractional Freebie Christmas ornament. I released a Fractional Freebie pumpkin stitch that I put into made a pillow. So pillow of that I put up on my website, and that's still up there. I'll put a picture of it here if you're wanting to save it for next year or interested in it. But with including a large amount of 3/4 stitches and half stitches in my designs, I know right now, traditionally they have been used in cross stitch for hundreds of years. Right now they're not as popular, but for me, the way I design and the way I think, I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just use a 3/4 stitch there? So that's me. So knowing that they're not as used now for multiple reasons. One, I also concluded, is because apparently, I think, tell me if I'm accurate on this, but I think that any of the softwares hate them. Like, they're hard to do. I think it's hard to put a pattern into a software that if you track your work in a software like I know the names of the software. Pattern Keeper. That they don't like half stitches and they don't like 3/4 stitches. If you like the data you get from those kinds of things, or like to look at your stuff on your tablet, I agree that would not surprise me if the software doesn't like that. But in saying that, unless you want your patterns in for the data of like how many stitches you've done or whatever, like I said, I have a very large phone. I used to have a tablet and a phone, and then I thought, I'm pretty good if I just have a large phone. Like, what I like to use my tablet for or my phone for is pretty much the same thing. So I got the Galaxy Notebook and I just use it like a tablet. And like I said, it's very easy. If you like to do your your PDFs and not actually print them off and just like them on a tablet kind of a thing, I do that all the time on my phone. And in fact, I watched YouTube, and what I discovered is if I put it in Google Docs, save it on Google Docs, download it onto your laptop or download it onto your phone or wherever, but then put it on Google Docs, or I guess Google Docs, and then download it onto your phone, like in pictures. Bring it up. You can make it big, small, spread it out however you want. But what I do is, like, I go into that first, and then I can also get a YouTube loaded up and just make a little rectangle square of YouTube somewhere on the screen. And one thing about Google Docs is it can shut down. I'm sure there's a setting that I haven't discovered yet. But if you put a YouTube video up on it, it never shuts down. So I just sit there and blow up whatever part of my pattern I'm working on. And I have a little plastic tray thing that I can put on my lap that has a little backing on it where my phone can sit. Put that on the pillow on my lap and then just stitch away all afternoon. And it works really well for me. So, but I mean, again, I get it. If that's not your thing and you really want to be able to put stuff into Pattern Keeper, apparently 3/4 and half stitches are not the greatest thing. But so I need to get my Fractional Freebie Christmas ornament up. Again, totally ready, designed, but I actually haven't put it into wind stitch yet. So, and then I have two of one of the ornaments and one of the pillows is completely finished. One pillow I need to stitch the border on, and then one ornament I need to finish stitching a tiny little part of it and get it finished. I still don't have the mojo that's more in my design part of my brain. That's not in my stitching part of my brain. So after this, I'm going to probably take a break, stitch my winter things that are ready to stitch a little bit more, because that's flying. And I'm like, if I'm flying on this, why not just get it done now? If my brain, this is where I am with my brain, and then upload this video. And then I think maybe after that hump is done, well, then the other thing that has to happen this weekend, probably, realistically, I'm not going to be touching those Christmas ornaments till Monday. Maybe Sunday. Probably Monday. Is my studio looks like a thread bomb blew up in it. I have piles, and this is, I think, a neurodivergent dyslexic thing. I have piles that have meaning to them. Like, I just showed you my attic pile that's in front of me. I'm playing, this is very soothing to be playing with this thread. So I have an attic pile right here. Right here I have a bigger 1, 2, 3 stitch order pile here. Over here I have a little pile of the colors that I mix of my Christmas ornament threads and my turkey ornament threads that I need to use this pile to determine if I made any changes with my Christmas ornaments and verify I have all my colors right in my Christmas ornaments. And I'm really afraid to put anything away until I determine that I have recorded all of my Christmas ornament colors. This is the inner workings of a dyslexic artist you probably did not want to know. So the weekend's going to be spent, the word I use is reset. I need to reset my studio. And usually after I'm done with big projects, I need to reset my studio, meaning I put everything away. Like, I organize, I put everything back where it belongs, and then I start again. So this studio is in a huge need of a reset. And not only that, is with this new intensity of using weeks only for my 18 count for this certain size of things I try and achieve, where size is important if they're going in a vintage cookie cutter. The reason why I did such a big order on 1, 2, 3 stitch, and then also did some more at the attic, is because I needed a whole color spectrum of color in weeks. And I have 2 boxes of DMC drawers that I organize everything by Roy G. Biv by the color. I don't care the name. I don't care where it came from. My fabrics, my cotton fabrics for collage applique, my felts, my growing collection of cross stitch fabrics. Everything is organized by color. So I need to reorganize my drawers that I keep my new threads in. And I'm kind of leaning towards not mixing in those drawers the Weeks Dye Works and the other threads, like having all the other thread choices organized and then a separate drawer that just has the Weeks colors organized Roy G. Biv. And luckily it's 6 drawers, and right now it's pretty loose, and I have 1 drawer. I've only used 7 drawers so far in organizing my purchases. So I think I can do it. So that needs to happen this weekend. So yeah, so go stitch, because I'm kind of running out of steam and energy. I need to just, I feel like my battery is recharging, which is pretty typical of me. Like, I love trips like that. I love the energy, but I do need to come home and just have a few days of kind of low quiet. Our very last vacation rental group left yesterday. We actually had to have some friends kind of manage the vacation house. I'm pointing at it. If you've ever, we live on a apple orchard across the valley from Mesa Verde National Park, and there's two houses on the historical apple orchard. My husband's father lived in the newer farmhouse down the hill for 13 years, and he passed away a year ago at 97. And we renovated it, and now it's a vacation rental. So, but our last group of this season left. They came to hunt, and according to my husband, who kind of went down and checked things over, we have some outbuildings, and he thinks that they were hanging elk quarters in one of the outbuildings, and so therefore they were successful in their hunt. So glad for that. Would have even been happier if they had left some elk in the freezer, but they didn't, but that's okay. So that is done. They're gone. The cleaning crew was going to come today. Chatted with her, and we both decided that Monday would be better, because then I go down, try to get the laundry done so that she just has to make beds. It's kind of a co effort, and I have no energy to make beds. But we did get 2 mattresses delivered yesterday, because I'm trying to kind of get this house kind of spiffed up a bit. It has not been spiffed for several years because of family. When you take care of aging parents, you're not spiffing your house up very much. And then also renovating another house, you're not spiffing up your house. So for Christmas, I think I should have a full house of children and my mom. So I'm trying to, get a few things done. But we needed some new mattresses on some beds, and that got done yesterday. So that was nice. I want to switch out my oven. That's ready to be switched out. We'll see if that happens before Christmas. But did get a couple things, off the list, which was nice. But yeah, to be able to just go through, and there was I think there were 4 guys in that house. So there's a lot of laundry. So if I can work on the laundry over the weekend instead of having to hurry this morning, I'm happy. So we'll be doing that, resetting my studio, getting this video up, and I think just going with it. If my brain and I am ready to just jump on stitching these already designed ornaments for the day after Thanksgiving release, why not? Just get that done, and then sometime, my brain will flip over and I'll be like, okay, let's figure out that border. Let's make a final decision on that Christmas border, and then I can jump on, and I have till Friday. We'll see. Well, really, I have till, if I want to release the Christmas stuff on Friday. So really I'll have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I have 2 things to get finished. Yeah, I can do it. Maybe start Sunday a little bit. But again, it'll be what it is. That just defeats the purpose if I'm all... The videos are to highlight my studio work, not to organize and change my studio work to fit the videos. And that's going to be a really hard thing for me to keep consistent. So things will not be pretty. You're not going to be pretty and organized, but that's just the way it is. The other thing is I need to find my newer computer glasses. These are my older ones. My green ones, I'm pretty dang sure came back with me because I used them in Arizona. I can't find them. Hopefully I'll find them. All right, so that ended up being kind of mostly stitchy stuff. I did talk about my trip a little bit. For the rest of November, October was kind of, it was Dyslexic Awareness Month, and dyslexia, I have it. So I shared, growing up with it and dealing with it in the education system myself, and then also as a parent, and then as a teacher. I'm sure I'll talk more about that, and how my my opinion of the utter importance of the arts in school, and how, all the arts, not just the visual art classes, but theater, music, are just as important as the sports programs. And it's a very sad thing when they get cut. I just read a thing in the state of Colorado. Maybe there'll be a little bit more funding towards the arts here next year because of how our budget works. I hope so. I won't believe it till I see it. That would be wonderful. But then I was kind of planning on November, because it is the Thanksgiving month. Halloween is over. I got my hair cut, and again, like I finally am going in 3 weeks, because I was going in the day after big events. Like, I was ready for a haircut the day I got back from a wedding. And then I realized that Thanksgiving, I'd get my hair cut right after Thanksgiving and get my hair cut right after Christmas. So I told her, I said, I don't care if it's like barely needs to be cut. So now I'm coming in 3 weeks. So now I will be on the cycle of right before these events instead of right after these events. But for November, and if you haven't listened to my first video, my first floss tube, like I said, I have an art degree. I am an art educator, and I taught at a one-room schoolhouse for about 15 years with Native American kids and rural ranch kids. It wasn't on the reservation, on the Navajo reservation. It was like very close to the Navajo reservation and right across the street, literally from the South Colorado. Mountain Ute is the reservation that's in Southwest Colorado. Toyoak is the town, and that's the Ute Mountain Utes. There's another one. The Southern Utes are just catty corner to that. So we are next to 3 Indian reservations down here. But I taught Native American kids, very rural ranch kids, very isolated kids who, just have not seen a lot of the world. Most needing government assist, like the government lunch. We were at 60% of government lunches, which means that 60% of our families were almost at or below the poverty level. So I thought, well, you know what? November would be a good month to talk about that. I also ran a soup kitchen, the kitchen side of a soup kitchen, for 3 years. So, this time of year, we seem to focus on charity and providing for those less fortunate than us. And, I thought, November would be a good month to kind of share my viewpoint, my experience of such things. So, I'll be talking about that in November. Let me give one PSA, public service announcement, encouragement. If you're at all interested, give where you want to give. I'm not telling anyone where they should give either their time or their money to charity. Let me just say one thing. If you're planning on giving things for Thanksgiving, Christmas, dinners, meals in town, whatever your community does, do it now, not the week before Thanksgiving. You would not believe when I ran the kitchen side of a local soup kitchen. I wasn't in charge of anything but the food and getting the food out. And I wasn't in charge of the actual Thanksgiving dinner. Lots of people volunteer for Thanksgiving dinners. Lots and lots of people volunteer for giving of time during the holidays, to the point that right before that time and right after that time, you don't have any help, because everyone wants to give during the holiday, either their time or their money. So if you're wanting to give that way, think about giving really early, like now, or even like put it on your calendar for October, because it's really October when we're planning those dinners. I had to cook, I think my average was 25 turkeys. Yeah, I think I cooked 25 turkeys. up to, so I would start, like I have my day timers where I would plot out how I was going to get 25 turkeys cooked. Because you cook the turkeys and then you take the meat off and then you put it in the freezer and then you thaw it, and then that's what you're not cooking 25 turkeys the day before, unless you're a community where other people are cooking those turkeys and bringing them. If the soup kitchen is cooking them, you cannot cook that many the week before. So we would start cooking turkeys in October, and sometimes I didn't have any turkeys to cook. Well, my husband called, so I stepped off for a second to chat with him. But yeah, I think I'm just rambling at this point. So I should probably close this. If you haven't or are interested, I am trying to do a picture of my morning stitching on my stories on Instagram, which Instagram and my Facebook artist page can be reached both at Moonflower Muse, M-U-S-E, Moonflower Muse. My website is moonflowerstudio.biz, B-I-Z, and my Etsy store is MF Studio Stitch. But you can access it, well, you can access everything from my website, moonflowerstudio.biz. I kind of tend to post the same thing most places, or I'm trying to. I am doing the morning stitch on just my stories, and it goes away. I'm not saving those, so there's just a little hint of maybe what's coming up later on in the year of whatever I'm working on. So that's about it. And I am ready to go stretch out and work some more, do some more stitching, and then see when maybe just I'll spend today getting up and coming in here a little bit and working and going back and forth a little bit. So there you go. So hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you later.